one of the other neato stories about this election was how well some of the statewide guys did in Texas among Hispanics. And they didn't do it by pandering on amnesty. On the issues, they were across the board really tough, securing the border, anti-illegal immigration, no abortion kind of guys. And many of those issues work really well with the Hispanics in Texas. There's an article in Human Events, and I'll put the link somewhere in a minute. I want to read this section even more so, and this is specifically talking about Greg Abbott, because he was pretty successful among Hispanics in Texas. He spent an awful lot of time in the border counties. But even more than his issue positions, the language that a candidate uses, the empathetic and welcoming approach they make, and the year-round effort to relate to the community can produce support for conservative Republican candidates. While issue positions and public policy stands are the reasons many conservatives are active, it is essential to remember that other factors can have a greater impact on many voters, regardless of race or ethnicity. And Greg Abbott did continually appeal to the Hispanic community beyond just the issues. He had issues that many of them can relate to, but he also had the Hispanic mother-in-law cutting advertisements for him about how proud she is to have him as a son-in-law and how proud she will be to have him as her governor. And those billboards were up all across the valley. And he's, opening up field offices that he's had people in, year-round. So he's had Republican pro-Greg Abbott presence year-round. And that's a tactic that we see of Democrats, and we've in fact talked about it on previous episodes here, where Republicans need to go into these other communities and just be there, be the people that they know. And in this article in Human Events, they kind of mentioned that people will vote for the folks that are like you, that empathize with you, that speak your language. And I don't mean technically Spanish versus English. I mean speak the language of issues that are important to you, the topics that matter, in the syntax that you use, because they're your friends. And that's how we see anti-abortion Catholics voting Democrat, because the Democrats are like them. The Democrats are with them. The Democrats are there in their communities. And we need to fight back and fight on those grounds. And it seems like there are some people here in Texas who have done who have learned that lesson and are at least beginning to improve the Republican ratings or the Republican performance in Hispanic communities. And that's a pretty good thing to see as well.
Leslie, I am so glad that you brought that up. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. By the way, just tell everybody who you are.
I'm Chandra Surface, and I work with Corey and Andy Pate with the Party of Choice. I'm very glad that Leslie brought that up about Texas and about those people who are in those Hispanic districts, because that was one of the stories that I was so happy to read about. He's not a fellow that we've heard about much in the national news, Will Hurd. Have you heard of him? He was the 37-year-old to win in the 23rd district down there in Texas. It is the largest district there, and it has like 800 some miles of border territory with Mexico. And Will Hurd is a Black American who is now going to Congress, and he was voted in by a majority of Hispanic people. And I love that. He is somebody that we need to look at carefully at how he ran his campaign, the things that he ran on, and follow his example, because I think he is a remarkable person.
And every Republican needs to be schooled in the art of selling a bill with a personal story, just the way that Democrats have perfected for years and years, and with appeals to broad common sense, so that most people would look at the legislation and say, how could he not sign this?